To truly comprehend the terrifying symbolism of Daniel chapter 7, we must understand its genre, apocalyptic literature. This is not mere storytelling. It is divine revelation born during periods of intense persecution and societal upheaval. When empires seem unstoppable and chaos reigns, people cry out for meaning. Daniel's vision provides a theological framework for this suffering. It assures the faithful that despite the darkness, God remains sovereign and will ultimately vindicate His people. Imagine the scene. Daniel sees the great sea churning under the four winds of heaven. This is a biblical symbol for the restless, warring nations of the world. From this chaos, four beasts emerge. These are not just animals, they are empires. The first is the Neo-Babylonian Empire, depicted as a lion with eagle's wings, Daniel 7:4. The lion represents royal dominance, while the wings signify the swift ferocity of Nebuchadnezzar's conquests. Historical records show that winged lions literally guarded the gates of Babylonian palaces. However, this beast transforms. Its wings are torn off, and it is given a human heart. This parallels Nebuchadnezzar's madness in Daniel 4. A reminder that even the fiercest worldly power can be humbled and chastened by the hand of God. Next rises the Medo-Persian Empire, appearing as a bear. It is raised up on one side, symbolizing the Persians' eventual dominance over the Medes. In its teeth are three ribs, likely representing the conquered nations of Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt. The monstrosity escalates with the third beast, the Greek Empire, shown as a leopard. It possesses four wings, representing the lightning speed of Alexander the Great's campaigns. Its four heads prophesy the empire's fracture, divided among Alexander's four leading generals after his death. The vision follows a deliberate crescendo of horror. It moves from a composite animal, lion, eagle, to a lopsided beast, bear, to a hybrid freak of nature, the four-headed leopard. This pattern sets a terrifying expectation. What could possibly be more monstrous than this? The author's answer shatters the pattern entirely. The fourth beast is not merely a more complex hybrid. It is an entity for which there's no natural analog whatsoever. It represents a complete break, a power that is not just a perversion of the created order, but a force that stands entirely outside and against it. Daniel 7:7 describes the moment of its arrival. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. Daniel struggles for words. There is no animal in the known world to compare it to. This beast is the Roman Empire, and to understand why it terrified Daniel, we must examine its nature, summarized by three characteristics: its iron constitution, its fierce countenance, and its identity as the robbers of the people. The defining characteristic of this beast is its composition. It possesses great iron teeth. This echoes an earlier prophecy in Daniel chapter 2, which described the fourth kingdom this way: "And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. Iron symbolizes industrial might, relentless strength, and a lack of mercy. Rome was the Iron Monarchy. Its power was not just vast, it was absolute. The impact of this empire on the world was total. The legions of Rome occupied the circumference of the world. The military roads which sprang from Rome traversed the earth. The whole world was, as it were, held in peace and tranquility by the universal presence of this mighty pagan empire. Exceedingly terrible, according to the prophecies of Daniel, it was, as it were, of iron, beating down and subduing the nations. The famed historian Edward Gibbon, in his History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, described the sheer scale of this relentless expansion. The arms of the Republic, sometimes vanquished in battle, always victorious in war, advanced with rapid steps to the Euphrates, the Danube, the Rhine, and the ocean. And the images of gold or silver or brass that might serve to represent the nations and their kings were successively broken by the iron monarchy of Rome. For those who fell under its shadow, the experience was one of total despair. The empire of the Romans filled the world, and when that empire fell into the hands of a single person, the world became a safe and dreary prison for his enemies. The slave of imperial despotism, whether he was condemned to drag his gilded chain in Rome and the Senate, or to wear out a life of exile, expected his fate in silent despair. To resist was fatal, and it was impossible to flee. There was no escape from the iron grip. Even the great Roman statesman Cicero reminded Marcellus, "Remember that you are equally within the power of the conqueror." The fourth beast was not just strong, it was terrifying in its demeanor. The Bible provides a prophetic description of the Romans long before they existed as an empire. Deuteronomy 28:50 describes them as a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. This fierceness was evident in their spirit of conquest. They were relentless, often going recklessly into the battle, glowing with the ardor of combat. But it was more than just courage. It was a terrifying focus. The fierce countenance of its soldiery is legendary. The Romans admitted that they had never fought with a more obstinate enemy than the Samnites. When the Samnites were asked what it was that first turned them, with all their determination, to flight, they said that the eyes of the Romans looked like fire, and their faces and expression like those of madmen. It was this, more than anything else, which filled them with terror. They were also methodical and skillful in their aggression. As the ancient historian Polybius noted in his histories, the Romans were careful not to appear to be the aggressors or to attack their neighbors without provocation, but to be considered always to be acting in self-defense and only to enter upon war under compulsion. They mastered the politics of power, ensuring that their conquests always seemed justified, even as they ruthlessly expanded. This combination of iron strength and fierce determination made them seemingly unstoppable. But it still begs the question, why is the fourth beast's soul diverse. Why did God use recognizable animals, a lion, a bear, a leopard, for the other empires, but an indescribable monster for Rome? The answer lies in the fundamental difference between their origins. The first three empires, Babylon, Persia, and Greece, were recognizable civilizations. They had clear lineages, shared histories, and distinct cultures. They were nations in the natural sense of the word. Rome did not. Rome was not founded as a nation. It was founded as an artificial gathering of disparate peoples. Because they lacked a natural origin, they had to invent one. They had to fabricate a mythology to bind themselves together. This brings us to the famous legend of Romulus and Remus. The account says that their mother, Rhea Silvia, went to a grove sacred to Mars to get water. There, she encountered Mars, the god of war, who allegedly attacked and raped her. She became pregnant with the twins, Romulus and Remus. When the twins were born, the reigning king, Amulius, learned of the birth and ordered a servant to kill them. The servant, however, set them adrift on the river Tiber. They did not die. And here is the crucial detail that defines the Roman character. They were not rescued by humans. They were rescued by a she-wolf who suckled and cared for them. They survived by adopting the nature of a predator. The Romans celebrated this story. The sculpture of a she-wolf suckling the mythical twin founders became the symbol of the city. This origin story, founded in violence, rape, and an unnatural hybridization of man and beast, set the stage for the empire. This connects to a profound biblical truth found in Jeremiah 13:23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil. The point is that nature is fixed. Identity is inherent. A leopard cannot change its spots. But Rome is the empire that claimed it could change its spots. They rejected their true, fractured origins and instead cloaked themselves in a self-made myth of divine, predatory lineage. Daniel could not use a natural animal to symbolize Rome because Rome's identity, from its mythical roots, was fundamentally unnatural and fabricated. This artificial origin created a society unlike any other, matching the reality of how Rome was populated. When Romulus founded the city of Rome, he faced a practical problem. He didn't have enough citizens. He established what was called an asylum. Who populated this new city? Daniel 11:14 prophetically describes the founders of this empire with the phrase, "the children of robbers." Historical accounts confirm this description vividly. When Romulus found the number of his fellow settlers too small, he opened an asylum on the Capitoline Hill, and all manner of people, thieves, murderers, and vagabonds of every kind flocked thither. Rome was founded by the outcasts of the world. A vast herd of every kind of vagabonds, without country, without forefathers. This predatory nature continued as the city grew. They needed wives, but neighboring cities refused them marriages, treating them with contempt. So Romulus resorted to a stratagem, a cunning deception. He organized a festival, and in the midst of the solemnities, the Sabine maidens, 30 in number, were violently carried off. This led to atrocious wars. The Romans recognized their own nature. They proudly described themselves as robbers of the world. They openly acknowledged their philosophy. Do you not know that the Romans, when they found themselves stopped by the ocean on the west, turned their arms this way? That to look back to their foundation and origin, whatever they have from violence, home, wives, lands, and dominions. Neither divine nor human laws restrain them from betraying and destroying their allies and friends, remote nations or neighbors, the weak or the powerful. The fourth beast is dreadful and terrible because it represents an empire built not on natural heritage, but on iron will, violence, and a fabricated identity. The vision of Daniel 7 is a stark look at the progression of human empires. As they grow in power, they become less human, less natural, culminating in the industrialized, nameless terror of Rome. But the message of Daniel is ultimately one of hope. These visions were given during times of suffering to remind us that the beasts do not have the final word. Daniel's vision continues past the reign of the monster, showing that God will intervene in history. The beast will be judged, and an everlasting kingdom of righteousness will be established. The storm will pass, and the sovereignty of God will prevail.